So let's analyze a property together. This is going to be a two-part video. So this first part is going to help me make the decision about whether or not I want to do a deeper dive and spend the time to actually really analyze this property. So this is an existing short-term rental. It is in actually my primary residence general market. This is on the other side of town in a township I'm not as familiar with. But I thought I'd go ahead and run the numbers because it's currently running as a short-term rental. So is this a good deal? So when I go into, I use AirDNA, and again, this is my back of the envelope. I'm not going to the bank on this, but AirDNA usually does a pretty good job of letting me know where I'm at. And my projected revenue, according to AirDNA, is 65.3 because all I want to do right now is estimate does the back of the envelope financials make sense, and can I compliantly run a short-term rental in this market? Okay. So keeping in mind that 65.3, I'm going to go and find out how much my taxes are because this is what throws people off. I have property taxes in Michigan are fairly expensive. I could look for the mill rate, but I'm so used to using BS&A, especially when I'm running numbers in my state. I'm very familiar with it. So I'm looking at what they're currently paying in taxes and what their taxable value and their assessed value is, which it's the same. So I can back into a mill rate and apply that to the sale price of the property. And then I'm going to go through and just use an online like Bankrate calculator to throw a couple numbers in there. And so this is, if my home price is $265, you can probably get it for a little bit less in this current market. A 30-year fix at 7.5%. Again, this is going to depend on your loan product quite a bit, but my property taxes would be 58, and my home insurance, I'm just plugging in a placeholder of 18. That's probably about reasonable for appropriate level insurance for this property. So that means my just mortgage interest and everything is going to be about 25. And I usually say half again as much would be my total expenses. So taking that mortgage, that PITI payment, and then multiplying that out, it puts me at around 40K in expenses. So if you remember, AirDNA was telling me 65. So that's a fairly nice spread there. So let's then answer the question about compliance. I'm going to go to the township website, but first I actually go back to my BS&A or whatever documentation I have available. This is zoned as agricultural, which is kind of interesting. But so now I pulled up the zoning ordinances for the township, and I went looking for, and I actually used the find function in order to find keywords associated with vacation rentals, short-term rentals, hotels, bed and breakfast. And there's not a lot in here. So they gave me bed and breakfast, but it doesn't really match because it includes offering a meal, which we don't typically do in short-term rentals. I did find a thing on home occupations, which is another area that I'll typically look. This didn't really give me much either. And they do have hotel or inn, but when I went, which would probably fit the best, but when I went looking for whether or not it was an allowable land use, it is not included in the land use chart, and it is not discussed elsewhere in the 60-some page document as to whether or not it is actually allowed. It's not clear to me. So the next stop then was to go looking at the township to see if they had any discussions in their meeting minutes. And lo and behold, the very first one I looked at, short-term rentals, was on the agenda. So then I went and I looked at the discussion, and they have not yet taken any action. They do look like they're considering taking action, but they also have some, I'll tell you, it's actually incorrect information about the current legislation in Michigan. So I think while there's some risk here, I think that it is not a high risk. And so you would have to determine your own risk assessment. So I'm going to post a part 2. So if you'd like to learn more about how I analyze short-term rental properties, like my channel to get updates, follow or subscribe.